crashing my father's lies after meeting the mother he said was gone. Growing up, my biological mother was a ghost who lived exclusively in a silver frame on my father's desk. She had soft hazel eyes, dark wavy hair, and a smile that looked exactly like mine. Whenever I asked about her, my father, Arthur, would get a heavy, faraway look in his eyes, place a hand on my shoulder, and say the exact same phrase. She was too fragile for this world. Grace, she passed away when you were just a toddler. It's just you and me now. When I was 6, Arthur married Evelyn, a strict, image-obsessed woman who made it her life's mission to erase any trace of my real mother from our household. The silver frame was moved to the attic. My questions were banned. Evelyn wanted a clean slate to build her definition of the perfect high society family, and my father completely submitted to her rules. For over 20 years, I accepted my reality. I graduated college, built a career, and learned to live with the quiet ache of a missing piece. My father became a prominent figure in our city, known for his unshakable integrity and family values. Next week was his grand 60th birthday gala, a massive black tie event where he was set to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. Evelyn had been planning it for months, obsessing over the guest list, the catering, and the seating arrangements to ensure absolute perfection. I had no idea that the carefully polished image of our perfect family was built on a foundation of horrific, deliberate lies. The truth found me on a rainy Tuesday afternoon at a small coffee shop on the edge of town. I was waiting for a client when an older woman sat at the table next to mine. I didn't pay attention until I caught her staring at me. When I looked up, my breath caught in my throat. She had my eyes. She had my wavy dark hair. And when she smiled, a chill rushed down my spine. It was the woman from the silver frame. Older, with lines of deep sorrow etched around her eyes, but undeniably alive. Grace? Her voice was a trembling whisper, barely audible over the hum of the espresso machine. I stood up, my chair scraping violently against the floor. I think you have me confused with someone else. My mother passed away 20 years ago. The woman pulled a worn, faded leather booklet from her bag. With shaking fingers, she opened it and slid it across the table. It was my childhood immunization card, a lock of my baby hair, and a handwritten letter addressed to my sweet baby Grace. The handwriting matched the old baby book hidden in our attic. I didn't pass away. Grace, she sobbed, covering her mouth. My name is Marianne. Your father and Evelyn, they didn't just push me out. They destroyed me. As the rain poured outside, Marianne laid out a story that turned my entire existence inside out. 20 years ago, she hadn't died of an illness. She had suffered from severe postpartum depression, a vulnerability my father used as a weapon. When he met Evelyn, a wealthy heiress who could fund his business ambitions, he wanted Marianne gone. Together, Arthur and Evelyn used their money and legal connections to systematically declare Marianne unfit, strip her of her parental rights, and threaten her with permanent institutionalization if she ever tried to contact me. They gave her a one-way ticket out of the state and told a 3-year-old girl that her mother was a ghost. I tried to fight them. Grace, Marianne wept, reaching out to touch my hand, her palm warm and trembling. But I was broke, alone, and terrified. They told me if I ever came near you, they would use their power to ruin your life too. I spent 15 years in another state, just watching you grow up through newspaper clippings and online graduations. I only came back because I couldn't die without looking into your eyes just once. I left the coffee shop in a state of absolute icy numbness. The grief that had weighed me down for 2 decades was instantly replaced by a roaring, suffocating rage. I didn't confront my father immediately. I knew Arthur. He was a master manipulator who would easily twist the words of a mentally unstable woman to protect his reputation. I needed hard evidence. That night, while my father and Evelyn were out at a pre-birthday dinner, I used my old spare key to enter my childhood home. The house was quiet, smelling of Evelyn's expensive lavender candles. I marched straight to the attic. I tore through old boxes of holiday decorations and dusty furniture until I found my father's locked vintage trunk in the corner. I used a heavy crowbar from the garage to snap the rusted padlock open. Inside, beneath old tax documents and business ledgers, I found a thick manila envelope labeled MR Confidential. My hands shook as I pulled out the contents. It was all there. A legally binding non-disclosure agreement signed by Marianne under extreme duress. Receipts of monthly wire transfers from Arthur's private account to an out-of-state address labeled Settlement Maintenance. And most horrifying of all, a series of saved letters Marianne had sent to our house over the years, begging to see me. Each one marked return to sender in Evelyn's sharp, distinctive handwriting. They hadn't just lied to me. They had actively, systematically isolated a grieving mother and a lonely child to protect their social standing. They were monsters wrapped in tailored suits and silk dresses. The days leading up to the 60th birthday gala were a masterclass in acting. I sat through family lunches, helped Evelyn choose the floral centerpieces, and nodded gracefully when my father patted my hand and told me how proud he was of the woman I had become. You're my greatest legacy. Grace, he said over a glass of wine, his eyes warm with that fraudulent paternal pride. Everything I've built to give you a stable, perfect family, something your poor mother could never provide. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and smiled. Thank you, Dad. I'm going to make sure your gala is a night the whole city remembers. I secretly added one more name to the strict, exclusive guest list, Marianne Vance. I bought her a beautiful, elegant navy blue dress, arranged for a car to pick her up, and told her exactly what she needed to do. She was terrified, but when she looked into my eyes and saw the unshakable fire of a daughter demanding justice, she nodded. Evelyn had organized organized a grand multimedia presentation for the climax of the evening, a historical slideshow of Arthur's life, his business achievements, and his role as a devoted family man. The digital file was loaded onto a flash drive held by the venue's technical director. The night before the gala, I paid a quiet visit to the technical booth. I told the young technician that Evelyn had made some last-minute edits to the video file. I swapped his drive with one of my own. The grand ballroom of the luxury hotel was a sea of black tuxedos, glittering gowns, and clinking champagne glasses. Over 200 of the city's most influential figures sat at round tables, laughing and praising my father. Arthur sat at the head table like a king, Evelyn looking smug and radiant beside him. I stood at the back of the room, my eyes locked on the entrance. At exactly 8:30 p.m., the heavy double doors opened and Marianne stepped inside. She looked breathtaking, her navy dress elegant, her head held high despite the tremor in her hands. I walked over, took her arm, and guided her to an empty table right near the stage. 10 minutes later, the lights dimmed. The master of ceremonies took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screens for a special look at the life, the integrity, and the family values of our guest of honor, Arthur Sterling. The screens lit up, but instead of childhood photos of Arthur, the screen displayed a massive, crystal-clear scan of the 20-year-old non-disclosure agreement, highlighting my father's signature and the name Marianne Vance. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Arthur's smile instantly froze. Evelyn stood up from her seat, her eyes widening in panic as she looked toward the technical booth. Before anyone could react, the audio system boomed with a recorded phone conversation I had secretly taped just 2 days prior, when I had subtly asked my father about the attic trunk. "Grace, I told you to leave those old boxes alone." Arthur's voice echoed through the ballroom, loud and clear. "Your mother was unstable, and paying her to stay away was the only way to protect our family's reputation. If people found out the truth, it would ruin everything I've built." The ballroom descended into absolute suffocating chaos. Gasping filled the room. Prominent business partners stood up, their faces pale with shock. Evelyn began screaming at the event staff to cut the power, her perfectly polished mask completely shattering into an ugly display of rage. I stepped onto the stage, taking the microphone from the stunned MC. The spotlight found me, casting a sharp glare over the room. "For 20 years, my father told this city that he was a man of unshakable family values," I said, my voice steady, resonant, and entirely calm. "He told me my mother was dead. But the truth is, the only thing dead in this family is his integrity." I pointed directly to the table near the stage. "My mother is not a ghost. She is sitting right there. Arthur and Evelyn Sterling used their money to steal a child from her mother, and tonight, the lie ends." Arthur rushed the stage, his face purple with fury, his hands shaking as he reached for the microphone. "Grace, you are hysterical. You're ruining your own family." "Get down from there." "I'm not ruining a family, Arthur," I said, dropping the microphone onto the stage floor with a loud, ringing thud. "I'm exposing a crime. You two deserve each other, and you deserve the silence you're about to receive." I walked down the stairs, completely bypassing my father, and walked straight to Marianne. I took her hand, her fingers locking tightly into mine, and together, we walked down the center aisle of the ballroom. Behind us, the gala was in ruins. The Lifetime Achievement Award sat forgotten on a table, and the powerful empire Arthur had built on a foundation of lies was completely dismantled in front of the people he spent his life trying to impress. As we stepped out into the quiet night air, leaving the shouting and the cameras behind, I looked at the woman beside me. For the first time in my life, the ghost was gone. My mother was real, her hand was warm, and the future was entirely ours to write.